this is where we can start. So the first thing to do for us now is we can sort of have a read through this and understand what's going on normally. So there's a lot of stuff we don't need to bother with here. That's just fine. So that's draw line, and draw polyline. So that's the actual drawing of the zigzag. We need to add an extra property, which you annotate with at editable property. And then we change that draw icon depending. So, and not draw icon is fine. It's, in our case, get body shape that we need to change. First thing I think we should do is create a new editable property. So we have get power new and set power new. So the next one we need to add is something like public void set draw standard. And it will take something. I can't work out what yet, but it will take it something indeed. And we also need get draw standard, public void get draw standard. That's what I'll just call these. And these need labeled editable property. Name equals draw standard. And you know, if you need to understand what's going on, you can go and have a look at other things. So for example, I know that my current source symbol, right? So this is the last one that I wrote, and I remember I needed a source style. So let's see how I did that. Enum, right, yeah, I created an enum for each style version. So I'll put an enum at the bottom for draw style. Public enum draw style, and we will have ISO and what's the name of the American standard? Or ANSI is probably better rather than NEMA. ANSI it will be. Why is that unhappy? Public type draw style must be defined in its own file. Maybe it will be okay later on. See, I'm just using another file as an example. So at the top of the class we have our fields. And these are the start of the editable properties. So we have private draw style that I will call draw style equals draw style dot ANSI. Let's close that. So I should do an overview at this point of what's going on here. So each component is a class. Each class has the name of what it is, and it inherits or extends from a base class. So for example, like the current source and the resistor are drawn in the same way. If I run the program again, schematic symbols, right. For example, the capacitor, you click in one place and you draw it outwards like that. And that property stays the same for all these sort of symbols, which is like an abstract resistor as he's created the class. But for example, something like under the guitar, like a bass pickup doesn't have a property like that. It's just not something it does. But on the converse, all pickups tend to have similar properties, like in terms of the fact that they'll have the winding connections, or there'll be mounting lugs and stuff like that that you can abstract and create into higher up classes that everything else will inherit from. So that's the concept that's going on here, that resistor symbol extends the abstract schematic leaded symbol. What we'll do is we need to add an extra draw style. So what I've created is an enum for each draw style, and then we'll be able to choose between the draw styles as an editable property. So what I'm doing here is I'm just copying what I did before with this. So if source style equals null, source style equals standard, else return source style. So, well, not else, just return source style if we didn't need to set anything regardless. So get source style public, and it should return a draw style. Why is that complaining? I know what I did. Like an idiot, I put it outside the class. Because each Java file should only ever have one class. And that will be happy now. Let's fix that. Sorted. No more problems. Yep, as I said, I'm relearning Java along with you guys. And I'm an idiot. So yeah, that's something about Java. If you've never done Java before, each Java file that you make is just a single class. So you have like the class that's your entry point, and then each little bit of functionality you'll wrap up in one class that does each its own individual thing that you can then instance as sort of needed in other classes. So we need to get a draw style. Draw style? That's bad. Need an underscore. Let's see how I did it in this. Basically, if you know a component that already sort of does the thing that you're trying to program, go and have a read of what that does. Set source style, and this, just do this dot source style equals. So you can see this is the actual polyline that creates that, but instead we need to create an alternative to this. So what I will do is I will indent all that. If draw style is draw standard equals draw style dot IC, then we need to do our box here. I'm putting that on a new line just because I think it looks nicer. Some people don't like my coding style, maybe. I'm not sure. There is actually a formatter in DIYLC that you should probably use. I'm naughty and I didn't use it last time, but we'll probably have a look at using it this time. So at this point, I'm not sure what to do. I haven't researched enough, to be fair. I've forgotten everything, as I said. So I'm going to take some time now to read the Java documentation, and I will come back once I know what I'm actually meant to be doing. We are back. So I've taken some time to read the documentation, and I forgot Java's 2D documentation is quite confusing because it gives you multiple ways of doing things. Now for our purposes, we just literally need to draw a rectangle and we're happy. So we might as well just do it with general path. So basically what this does is it draws the individual lines. So what we will do is we'll do move to like the bottom left hand corner. That will be in terms of where we are. If you imagine the origin is at the center. I need some way of drawing this. Yeah, so with a rectangle here, you know, we need to think that the center is about here. Held within the class is the length and the width of the shape. If you imagine, where we need to start is half the length back and half the width down. So if we go move to and minus width over 2 and then minus length over 2, then resistor shape dot line 2. And then we set another point, so at this point we're at the bottom left, so if we go to the top left, we go width over 2, and then we keep this one. We'll need 4 lines, won't we? So we start at the bottom, we go align to width over 2, minus length over 2, align from where we are now to width over 2, length over 2, over here, a 1 from there to length over 2, minus width over 2, and then a 1 from there, align to where we started. And then we should be able to just return resistor shape. So let's see how that looks. It might be entirely wrong. So at this point, we now need to, let's collapse all these and see if we can build. So run as an ant build. Build failed, 10 errors. Well, that's bad operand type for unary operator. Oh, right, we start in the bottom right hand corner. I'm sorry, that's entirely wrong. No negative numbers needed, which is why it was complaining about the minuses. Sure, we're at 0, 0. Then we go 0 length. And then we need to go from length to width length. So we're now 0 length, width length. So we now need to go width 0, and then from there back to 0, 0, and that should be right. F. Cannot accept the arguments. Size. So how's this doing it? Because I need to do that, and I should probably do that up here somewhere. Let's take that away, and I will add that as a comment above. We can remove that else. Right, let's try building that. We've only got warnings now. Run as an ant build. 16 seconds, so let's see if it runs. DIYLC starter. And we have schematic symbols. Let's go resistor. By default it's still that. Draw standard, ANSI and IEC. Well, you know, that's a good start. We can work with that. We've drawn it around the wrong way, but that's okay. Instead, we need to go from there to width. We need to swap these around essentially. That's length and that's width. And that needs to be a length. Save that. Let's build it again. Oh, let's close the open instance. Build it again, run as an ant build. And we should be able to run. We have the draw standard, and if I switch that to IEC, perfect, eh? Look at that. Beauty. We did it. Fantabby-dozy. Let's close that. Would you like to save them? No. So that's how you'd create a component in DIYLC. We've ended up to use a general path, which I think I ended up using pretty much all the time. General path seems to be the way to go. When you're making the icon, you use the graphics 2D draw interface, whereas when you're making the body, that's returned to the shape interface. General path just seems to be the way. I'm pretty sure there's probably an easier way to do that that doesn't use general path. You can use these draw new rectangle 2Ds, which would have been much easier to use. What I do is I actually just log in, then like drag and drop the new file in the right place. Right, yeah, my 3 commits are verified. You'll notice signed with GitHub signature because I did it via GitHub, manually uploading rather than just pushing from the command line as a lot of people do. Because I'm a youngster that's growing up with using GUIs, so I prefer them, even if they're slower. So what I will do, I need to sign in, I suppose. Let's go to my repositories. Now what I know I need to do is I go into DIYLC, DIYLC library, because that's where it was. Source organization, it was components, and it was under passive, add file. Right, upload file. Then I just drag it up. Resistor symbol is the one. If I find it here, resistor symbol.java. Loading that. Commit change, so add IEC option. Commit changes, and that's it. And it'll think about doing it. Nice thing here, you can see all the changes I made, and I'll be able to feed that back to Bancika in my next pull request. So if I wanted to do that, I can go open pull request there, and then do that process. We'll look at that later when there's actually more worthwhile things to do a pull request on. In the next video, we'll have a look at getting up and running, making a buzzer symbol, more so from scratch than this simple change. So yeah, I hope you liked the video, hope this helped you, and stay tuned for the next one. Ta-ra.